Well, thank you all so much for joining me this afternoon, and I'm delighted to speak about the newest member of our team, our portfolio here at Small World Marketing, Thornybush Game Lodges. So we started working with Thornybush on the 1st of February, so very, very new. And the first thing we did was jump on a plane to South Africa and actually go down and see the 3 properties, which was just an absolute dream, not only to escape the pretty grey and dreary UK winter, but also for me it was a real eye-opener in terms of the safari experience you can have in South Africa. So it was an absolute joy. We're really excited about working with these guys. I think they've just got this really incredible combination of this amazing old heritage. So Thornybush Game Lodge being opening its doors over 60 years ago, so it's one of South Africa's oldest lodges. Yet also has one of the newest additions as well, which is Saseka Tented Camp as well. So I'm really excited about telling you more about the properties and this presentation this afternoon. So as is always the case, it is being recorded, so don't worry if you have to leave halfway through, and we will be sending a follow-up email with all the relevant information you may need about the properties, including fact sheets, rates, image gallery, all of that. So please don't worry, I will be sending everything through to you as a follow-up to the presentation. So just obviously to start, where are they? So as the name might suggest, but it can be a bit misleading, Thornybush Game Lodges, 2 of the 3 of them are in Thornybush. So they consist of Thornybush Game Lodge and Saseka Tented Camp, and they also have Simbambili in the Sarby Sands. There used to be more in the portfolio, but actually what they've done, and the reason why they've got us on board, is they're trying to separate them out, and we are looking after what's probably more their premium brand properties. So that is Thornybush Game Lodge, Saseka and Simbambili. So the first 2 being in Thornybush, and then Simbambili being in Sarby Sands. So they make a brilliant combination between the 2 of them, particularly twinning with Simbambili and one of the Thornybush properties. So Thornybush really is becoming the kind of new jewel in the crown of the greater Kruger area. It's a reserve, but actually one of the things that's really changed the whole dynamic of this reserve is about 5 years ago, they dropped the fences to the greater Kruger National Park. So they now have this unbelievable game experience. They had great game experience before, but obviously with the fences being dropped, they now have a phenomenal game experience. And they have seen the elephant population in particular increase tenfold at certain times of the year since those fences have been dropped. And I have to say, the safari experience we had, I mean, I was joking saying it's like being on safari on steroids. It was just like around every corner you saw another leopard or another elephant. It was really, really, really phenomenal. So it's really exciting properties for us to work with, because as I say, they've got Thornybush Game Lodge, which has got this amazing heritage, opening its doors 60 years ago, and yet also Saseka Tented Camp, which actually opened 2 years ago, but obviously we were in the middle of the pandemic. So unfortunately, it didn't really get the kind of, all bells and whistles opening that it should do, because we were just starting to go into lockdown. But as you'll see, it is really, really quite phenomenal in terms of its design. So in terms of Thornybush itself, so the Saseka and Thornybush Game Lodge are both in the north. They're really easy to get to from the airport, and to fly from Johannesburg up to Hoedspruit takes less than an hour. And to drive to the airport, from the airport to the lodge takes about 40 minutes. So they're really, really easy to access. And to twin with Sarby Sands takes about a 15-minute flight, or you can drive about an hour and a half. So again, really easy to twin between the 2 reserves. And in terms of Thornybush itself, the north is probably slightly better in terms of game viewing. It's really well renowned for leopard population in this area. The further south is slightly more dense. There's not as many lodges, so it's actually harder to see. It's harder to see the game because there's not as many vehicles out. But actually, in terms of the game experience within Thornybush itself, it's absolutely incredible. And in terms of the difference between Thornybush and Sarby Sands, Thornybush is great for all-round game. Sarby Sands is really well known for leopards. So if you've got clients that desperately want to see a leopard, then Sarby Sands, they are literally, I mean, there's 9 resident leopards that are, I think we must have seen 5 of them in like 24 hours. It was phenomenal. So starting with Thornybush Game Lodge, Thornybush Game Lodge is probably our kind of 4.5-star product, and the other two are probably 5-star. But this also means that it works particularly well for children. It is a slightly larger lodge. So Thornybush Game Lodge has 18 rooms, where the other two have 9. So it's slightly larger, but that just by no means does that detract from the experience itself. So as you can see here, and you'll see in the images, it's set on this dry river bed with a waterhole in front of the lodge itself. And it's got a kind of elevated viewpoint. So it's very, very beautiful and lovely to see that look out on this dry river bed. It's the most beautiful spot, and incredible interior design and private areas and public areas. So it's just, it very easily, when we were there, it was full, and it didn't feel like it was crowded at all. It's got a huge amount of space to absorb the 18 rooms that it has. So it has this beautiful decked area that's overlooking the dry riverbed, a stunning bar area, just really, really cool in terms of interior design. And as is always the case with South Africa, obviously, you've not only got the interior design, you've got phenomenal level of service, food, wine. So it really is a kind of unbeatable all-round safari experience. I think for first timers to go to this area, they'll just be absolutely blown away, because you just have this guaranteed game experience, but also this combination of, you know, very high standards of delivery as well. This is a beautiful big pool area. So of the 18 rooms, there are currently 2 family suites. We're actually going to make them into 1 family suite with their own private plunge pool as well. They do accept children. Children under 12 really have to go in the family suite, because it's slightly apart from the other rooms, and it obviously has a larger kind of private area. But 12 and above, they can go. The way the rooms are designed is they're all very big and very private. You've almost got like 2 set together. So you go down the path, and then you have the 2 rooms, 1 door on either side, set apart. But essentially, if you are a family with older children, you can put your children in a separate room, and they're still relatively near to you, but it's still private. The food was just off the scale. It was my kind of heavenly food, very much based on ottolenghi, so lots of kind of salads, platters, vegetables, and very light kind of particularly lunches were incredible. And then dinner tends to be more kind of a la carte. And then obviously we have the obligatory sundowners, which is just beautiful set up. And yeah, sort of stunning decked area overlooking the dry riverbed. So as you can see in this image here, they've actually set it up with dining tables. When we were there, we were only there for 2 nights. We actually ate in the Boma one night and the Suseka the other night. So we didn't actually see it like this, but you can imagine it's just beautifully set up like this. But due to COVID, they haven't been running bush dinners so much. But they have been running Boma dinners. So they imagine over the next few months, they'll be bringing back the bush dinners. But the Boma dinner happens once a week as well. And it's a very beautiful kind of setup and a great experience. So the rooms themselves are enormous, very, very big, light and airy, looking over the dry riverbed. There's lovely kind of decked area out the front, huge windows everywhere. So it's really lovely and light. And everywhere you can see, you feel like you're almost on a game drive, because you have a game right there. So just really beautifully designed. They've just been renovated and refurbed, so they're looking very fresh and very lovely. And yeah, you have this beautiful bath looking out over the dry riverbed. And then this image here is actually the family suite, which is larger and has its own plunge pool. And then this is a beautiful bathroom areas of Thornybush Game Lodge. So we actually have a spa. We're actually going to, in a few months' time, move the spa down to a different area, so it's a bit further away, and so it can be actually shared by Saseka and Thornybush Game Lodge, because the 2 lodges are, whilst you'll never know, they're actually quite close to each other. When you're staying in them, you have no idea there's anywhere else, anywhere near you, really. And great for kids. They have a brilliant kids activities. So you can do cookie making. These are some children enjoying their pampering experience in the spa. Then obviously you can take them out. It's all about being out in the bush and doing the tracking. And the guides are amazing. And they're very, very good at explaining things in a very simple, clear way, not just for children, to be honest. It's good for adults as well. But they're just absolutely, yeah, brilliant, brilliant guides. So moving on to Suseka, which is the newest property in the portfolio. So as I mentioned, this opened 2 years ago, and it is absolutely stunning, as you will see. So it's designed by Sylvia Rex and Leslie Carstens, who are really cutting edge designers. They also designed Mumbo, Mirvana, North Island. So as you can see here, it's just the most beautiful, light and airy design. And it's a real mixture of, the furniture is a real mixture of kind of restored antique furniture, but also this combination of modern furniture as well. It's all about water, air and light. So you could, for example, you walk across these amazing big rocks to go to the guest loo. You have, they really celebrate the flora and fauna of the Kruger area, and you'll see this particularly in the rooms as well. But there's a table, so these are the rocks that I mentioned you walk across to go to the guest loos. This is a brilliant hammock, which of course there's been a lot of Instagram shots with, as you can imagine. And they have different elements from the roof shining down. They're like lights, they're like mirrors as well. And it's located on this beautiful, again, a dry river bed, the same dry river bed because it's around the bend from Thornybush Game Lodge. But you have this lovely running water through the main area as well. So it's just heavenly. And this is only 9 double tented suites. So it's a huge area for only 18 people max. So it's really kind of just beautiful in its design. This table on the right-hand side, you'll see that's where they have got the plants from the Thornybush area, and they've kind of imprinted them into the table as well. So just utterly stunning, beautiful bar area. And then when we were there, we were lucky enough to join them to have the dinner down in the dry river bed, which was just a really stunning experience. You can see that dinner from the aerial shot here. And you can see the main area and then the suites that go off to either side. So just really stunningly designed property and very, very beautiful. Saseka works better. So you have 9 tented suites, which also include what they call Ledwood Villa, which is their kind of much larger suite. To be honest, most children I would recommend going to Thornybush Game Lodge, but if you have clients that desperately want their children to come here and they want to take Ledwood Villa, then obviously because it's a private villa, they're welcome to take children over 12. But in general, I wouldn't recommend Suseka so much for children. In fact, actually, they don't accept children over 12 unless you're taking Ledwood, because you can see it's much more, to be honest, I'd hate my children to go here. I'd be terrified they'd be knocking things over because it's so beautiful. But it's, so in terms of food, very similar, obviously, to all the 3 properties, very Ottolenghi based, lots of vegetables, fresh food, and this beautiful big boma dinners they do as well, which tends to be a braai. So these are the tented rooms themselves. They're really big and spacious. They've got beautiful, they've all got their own plunge pool with a shaded area as well. But it's really inside, you'll see the really kind of unique style of the rooms. They're just totally different. So again, this real mix of different fabrics, lots of leathers, metal, cotton. It's just a real kind of textural, heaven really. And the really unusual fabric on the roof is plants they've actually got from images from old kind of records of plants that were found in the Kruger. So it's a real kind of a nod and appreciation to their environment as well. And all the rooms are designed with these huge, great big windows, half of which are sliding doors. So you can open them up, like for example, if you're lying in the bath, you can open them up and have it open to the elements, because they're really trying to ensure that you feel as much in your environment as you can. But yeah, just a really, really cool, very different, unique design, as you'd expect from the very cutting edge designers. So very open. So they do have a loo behind the screen, which I know is always a big request, obviously, understandably. So they have a bath, there's a little small screen, and then they have the open shower as well, which again, you can open doors out to the outside, but they also have an outdoor shower as well. So wherever possible, they have sourced their fabrics or their interiors locally, and wherever possible through community work that they do that I'll tell you more about later on. So for example, the outside shower screen is all made by the local women. So it's wherever possible they have kind of supported locally as much as they can. So this is Ledwood Villa, which is the much larger room. It's actually, there's only 1 bedroom in it. The second room is a beautiful big lounge seating area. So if you had families, you can definitely include families in the second room as well. But just basically much larger, really, really beautiful. So if you've got kind of VIPs or someone who wants to be totally private, this would be perfect for them. As I mentioned before, we are moving the spa so that it can be shared by Thornybush and Saseka, but particularly for guests staying in Ledwood who want to be a bit more private, we can easily arrange for a spa therapist to come in and give you a massage on your deck. That's no problem. So this is the second room, the second tent, so to speak, which is this beautiful big lounge area, dining area. You can imagine the family, it would just be absolute heaven. Really big and spacious, again, beautiful view over the drive-over bed, and you can again, if you want to be totally private, you can have dinner here on your own. You can just be, for VIPs that don't want to have any other interaction, it is absolute heavenly. So moving down to Simbambili and the Sarby Sands. So the name Simbambili, if those sharp ones are amongst you that know a little bit of Swahili, you'll notice that it says Simba, which is lion in Swahili, and Mbili, which is two in Swahili. Although we're not in East Africa. So Simbambili, the legend goes that two lions had they came across, a German adventurer came across two lions in the spot where Simbambili is built. And they spared him his life, and that is why they called this area and this lodge Simbambili. So in terms of access, it's a really easy 15-minute flight connecting between Thornybush and down to Sarby Sands. And this area is just heavenly leopard country. So if you've got clients that are keen on leopards, then they have to come to this area because they are absolutely guaranteed to see a leopard. I mean, we saw about 5 in about 24 hours. It was just amazing, and they were like this, iconic shots of a leopard lying in the branch. If you look on our small marketing Instagram, we posted quite a lot of the game and the unbelievable proximity of the game as well. So Simbambili has 9 rooms. Again, it's very small. It overlooks this beautiful big waterhole and has this lovely decked area leading out over the waterhole. So you can literally sit here and have your lunch, and there's always game coming to this waterhole, often very dense game like this. So you can almost have a kind of, an armchair safari, just sitting there watching the game come to you. So it has one main communal area, but big lovely lounge, the decked area and the dining room as well. And really the whole focus of it is overlooking that waterhole. So this image on the right is the view of the lodge from the waterhole itself. So again, very similar food, lots of Ottolenghi style dishes, sharing platters, very light. And then they have 2 bomas at Simbambili. Actually, they have a small boma which is near the main dining area, which is really good for private dinners. And then they have a bigger boma where they'll do everyone together having dinner once a week. So it's a really nice combination. If you had a group traveling together, it'd be lovely to have, like we did. We had a really lovely dinner in the small boma next to the main dining area. So these are the rooms, really beautiful, absolutely enormous. Again, it's children over 12 at Simbambili, and it'd be amazing for honeymooners and for any couples because every room has their own plunge pool, really big bathrooms. They do have 2 rooms that are slightly larger, but they're all common rated, so they're all the same price. And those 2 rooms are Honeymoon Suite and the Waterhole Suite. The Waterhole Suite, as the name suggests, has this amazing view over the waterhole, and the Honeymoon Suite is down one end of the row of rooms, so slightly more private and slightly larger as well. But to be honest, they're all absolutely amazing, and that's why we just kept it really simple, kept the price the same for all of them. But if you did want someone who wanted a slightly larger suite, you could request it. But to be, it's not a major difference in terms of the experience. So you can see these beautiful big decked areas just overlooking this amazing, game viewing area. So this is one of the larger ones. This is the Honeymoon Suite. So you see it's like larger with a lounge area, but all the rooms are pretty enormous. You wouldn't be disappointed when you walked in one of those. And then this is the Waterhole Suite, which has a slightly separate lounge to the main bedroom. Again, obviously overlooking the waterhole. So we have a spa and a gym here. They're actually about to go through a major renovation. And to be put into one larger area as well. But if you do have guests who are really keen to do workouts, then they obviously can do that. And just the staff are amazing, really, really phenomenal. I'll tell you a bit later on about the community work they do, but a lot of the staff come from a system they use. They have a bursary system where they support local people to go to a tourism training college, and they then recruit. They give them an internship and then recruit from that as well. So a lot of the staff are actually literally come up from within the Thornybush kind of whole project. But just, yeah, amazing staff. And then obviously the game experience. As I said before, I was really, really blown away by the game experience in this area. I have, most of our clients are in kind of East Africa or places like Zambia that are much more kind of, probably more off the beaten track, wild safari experiences. And if I'm honest, was probably always a bit kind of thinking South Africa is a bit of a tame safari experience, but actually what I realised was it's just off a scale in terms of the density, the experience, the proximity of the game. I mean, you'll see from our if you look on our Instagram, the game, I mean, the elephant were about 1 meter away from me and were incredibly calm, which I was, quite alarmed of initially, but actually you just realize they're so used to seeing the vehicles and they're so comfortable with the vehicles. I mean, you'll see, we have leopard walking right past us, pack of wild dog. I mean, even this morning, JB, our main point of contact, who's director of sales and marketing, he sends us WhatsApps of, they saw leopard mating this morning, they saw a pack of wild dog. And that was before kind of 8 a.m. in the morning, just driving to work. So it's just, in terms of game experience, it is a guaranteed phenomenal game experience. So for you guys selling it, it is, you are really rest assured that if you've got clients that just want to do one safari ever and they want to see everything, then this area is the place to go. Obviously, for people who want to celebrate as well and get married, it is very heavenly. We're talking to JB about it when we were down, and he was, Alice, who works for me, is not yet engaged, but she had all kinds of sales pitches to her as to how she should get married in South Africa. And actually, I was, very convinced as well. Not that I would want to hopefully be married in that area, but anyway, yeah, amazing for celebrations because it's just so beautiful, and we tend to have them in Thornybush Game Lodge because it is larger. But you could take out Suseka and Thornybush together. But just, yeah, beautiful, very, works out, particularly compared to British weddings, works out to be very affordable as well, and pretty heavenly. So they have, dancers that come in, they have obviously amazing food and wine, but just the most magical place to get married. They've had quite a few, they've had one wedding where they actually set it all up on the airstrip. So they had a huge long table on the airstrip and they got married under the stars, which is pretty magical. And then in terms of the community and conservation they do, so we met with their community manager, Candice, yesterday. We had a Zoom call with her, and I have to say we were all absolutely blown away by the work that she in particular does. So she runs their community initiative as a separate entity to Thornybush Game Lodge, although they are basically underwritten by Thornybush Game Lodges, but it's actually run as a separate entity. And she is just the most remarkable woman with what they're doing. They're just doing, I mean, she literally spoke at us for about 40 minutes with what they were doing. So I don't have time to go through it here. But in terms of the guest experience, she's very aware of really wanting it to be as authentic. She is acutely aware of how important it is for guests to know about what they're doing, and also important it is for them in terms of a kind of potential donor revenue scheme is obviously very important, but she's very aware of making it as natural as possible. And so the two ways guests can really get involved in what they're doing is at Simbambili, they'll get the trackers who are from that local area, who will take guests if they'd like to take them back to their village and actually walk them through the village, talk them through the village. So it's actually the tracker taking the guests back to their home. And then in terms of Thornybush, from Thornybush Nature Reserve, they work very closely with what they call Nourish Eco Village, which is set up amazingly for guests wanting to come and see all the multitude of projects they work on. I mean, they are phenomenal in terms of education, as I mentioned, the bursary scheme they've got, the enterprise scheme. So she has 5 pillars. The enterprise scheme they have, where they actually are working with the locals to create their own enterprises. There's just, like so many different elements, so many different strands of what they do. And that bottom left-hand image is Candice with a load of gorgeous kids. And so it's really interesting. There's more information about it on the website and in the rooms. But in terms of guest experience, if they're staying at Simbambili, they can go with their tracker to go back to his village. And if they're staying at Thornybush Nature Reserve, they can come and see Nourish Eco Village, which you really can get a great sense of what an NGO can do on the ground. But also it's an introduction to the Shangaan culture in a very kind of respectful way. But do read more about it on the website, because it's amazing. I think this is the gardens she was telling us about. There's 5 women who set up these gardens and have set it up as a really good enterprise, and they are part of the reason why they are separate to Thornybush game lodges. They want to be able to really work with other properties, and if it's labelled as Thornybush, they won't always be, it won't be as easy. So what these women do is they actually sell a lot of their produce back to other lodges in the Thornybush Game Reserve as well. So it's a really, really positive, sustainable way of working with the community and conservation. So that is the end of the presentation. A bit of a whirlwind tour. I don't think I've got any questions, so hopefully, one thing I didn't say, which is very important, is the price. To give you an idea, so Thornybush Game Lodge, which is our kind of 4.5-star product, is 12,000 rands. That works out about $770. Simbambili is 15,000 rands. That's $964. And Suseka is 17,500. So that's about $1,129. Sorry, excuse me. So that gives you a price point. So it's particularly Suseka is very, very affordable compared to some of the very iconic lodges in Sarby Sands. So it offers a really, really affordable way to enjoy this incredible kind of game-rich and activity-rich area. So hopefully that has helped you. I will be sending you a recording of the presentation and all the information you may need to obviously be able to promote it. But do let me know if you've got any questions. And thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And look forward to seeing you in another one of our webinars very soon. Thanks very much.